Last night I had my first writing related stress dream in a while, or I guess it's more publishing related. I dreamt that I was pitching the book I'm currently working on to my editor, and it wasn't a specific editor, but like kind of an amalgamation of all the editors I've worked with. And she was listening to the pitch and she was like, "That's great, but we're really looking for something that's like guaranteed to sell." And I was like, "Well, you know, nothing is guaranteed to sell." And she was like, "Yeah, but that's what we're looking for." And this is like so dumb. It's almost worse than a couple weeks ago, the night before my flight, when I dreamt that I went to the airport and found out that I couldn't board the plane because they required a negative COVID test and I hadn't taken a test. Like, you would think that, considering the fact that I write stories for a living, my brain would have more imagination when it comes to my dreams, and yet they're just so obvious and stupid. So yesterday afternoon I was making some good progress and it started raining and got kind of gloomy, and it was right around that 3 o'clock kind of time in the afternoon where, I don't know, I kind of start to feel zapped, like I'm kind of tapped out on creative work. And I did my hour on Nil. I did a little more than an hour, but I didn't feel like I quite got as much done as I had wanted to. And so I put it all away. I ran some errands, you know, went about doing other non-work things. And last night I was in bed and I was reading and kind of getting, you know, eyes getting heavy, starting to nod off, ready to go to bed. And then just kind of had one of those out of the blue moments where I realized the scene I was struggling with was, it was actually two. It was the one right before the catalyst and the catalyst itself. I thought I knew what it was. Someone coming to Nil with an offer. And I still think that is what it is. But I think the revelation I had last night was, it wasn't the character who makes the offer isn't the character who I thought. And it was in the moment, and again, remember I was really sleepy, it felt like one of those things where a series of gears all clicked into place. I realized who it was. I realized why she was important. I realized how it tied into the midpoint of the book, and all of a sudden I had a final image. Like that last scene, what happens to Nil at the very, very end, it all kind of went click, 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 click. I kind of don't remember what it was now, but luckily I emailed myself on my phone in bed, just like got it all out and put it away. And like, I vaguely remember what it was, but I'm really glad I emailed myself because I would be losing my mind right now trying to remember what revelation I had had. So now I'm going to open the email and see if it is as good of an idea as I thought it was last night. Let's see. Yeah, real glad I wrote this down. Oh my god, I figured something out. It also very, very much relates to the MacGuffin. It's something that I feel like all of a sudden looking at it is super obvious. Like, of course this is what I intended all along, but I just hadn't quite realized it. Okay. All right. Excellent. So my goal for today is Wednesday, and I think what I'm going to try to do is go back a few scenes before the catalyst, like read through my setup scenes. I had another few smaller revelations about some changes I want to make there, so I'm going to go read through, play with them a little bit, and see if I can build up to a catalyst scene that feels right, because what I had before wasn't quite feeling right yet, but I think this is going to be it. So that's my goal for this morning. It is, what time is it? 9:43, and I have a client call at noon. So I'm gonna have to stop a little earlier than normal, take Rosa out on her walk, probably have some breakfast, lunch, whatever meal is appropriate for that time of day. But yeah, let's see if I can get a little bit done on this and see where we are in maybe an hour or so. Okay, so here is why I love looking at beats or just using structure when I'm outlining. I was working through these scenes and thinking, okay, this is going better, but something's still missing. And then in the Save the Cat software, in one of the setup cards that it automatically sets up for you, it has a little reminder of stasis equals death. And I was like, because I had an idea for what I wanted that moment to be. If you don't know what that is, it's just kind of a beat that happens in any story before the catalyst, before the inciting incident, that just demonstrates to the reader that things can't go on for the main character the way they are. Something is fundamentally wrong, whether or not the main character realizes it. You never have a story of any kind in any genre start with the protagonist being completely 100% happy and fulfilled and content in the beginning. It's just not how it goes. And there's a moment where the reader can see that and identify, oh, something's not right. Something has to change. And wow, it was another one of those click, 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 click moments. I was still turning over the thing I had, the ideas that I had emailed myself last night, and I saw the stasis equal death, and I did have a kind of a vague idea of what that would be, and combining it with the new idea, all of a sudden just like all these other ideas came to my mind. So I'm feeling way better about where those setup scenes are now. Leading up to the catalyst, and so this afternoon hopefully I will get to work on the catalyst scene some more, because I feel like all the ducks are in a row leading up to that at this point. Something else I wanted to mention, I forgot to talk about this yesterday, and Marcus reminded me with a comment he left on my vlog on Tuesday, which I read this morning, and he said, I also don't like writing from a beat sheet from the start. I prefer to use it later if I feel like something is missing. And that is such a great point, and that's where I feel like pantsers and plotters, we're not that different. We just turn to structure at different points in the process. I like to look at structure in the beginning stages. Some people prefer to just pants the novel, write the story out, and then apply the structure afterwards. And actually, the very first time I ever read Save the Cat Writes a Novel, this was a long time ago, if I'm remembering this right, I'm pretty positive I had just finished the very, very, very first draft of Spell and Spindle, and I was doing my own revision before I sent it to my editor, to my beta readers. Nobody was going to read it. I knew it needed a lot of work. And one of the things I was struggling with was that I could tell something was missing in the middle, that it was just it was dragging, and I wasn't sure why. And when I read Save the Cat Writes the Novel and I read the description of all the beats, and I think somewhere in that book it describes the midpoint as like a tent pole, something that you are building towards before you're building towards the climax, if that makes sense. And I was just like, I don't have that. I don't have that. No wonder I'm muddling through the middle of this book. I'm just kind of like sending them on this journey until they get to the catalyst, to the kind of final battle, to the all is lost leading into the confrontations. And once I saw that, I got out my whiteboard and I wrote out all of the beats for both of the main characters in that book, Penny and Chance, and then I applied Save the Cat to it, and I could start to see, oh, this isn't hitting in the right spot, or this beat needs way more development, or is just missing entirely. And it really helped me with my revisions. So that might be something like any kind of structure method might work better for you, not in the beginning stages, especially if it makes you feel restricted, but after you write your first draft, to help you identify when something feels like it's dragging on for too long, or that it's missing entirely, or things just feel muddly in the middle, especially of the book. Turning to structure can really help for that. Anyway, so enough of that. Really happy with the progress I made this morning. It's almost 11, so I'm going to go ahead and take Rosa out, get some lunch, and have this client call, and we will be back on this in the afternoon. Okay, got another hour or so of work done this afternoon, and it's really coming along now. I feel like things are clicking. What I have so far is, on the beat sheet itself, every scene, every beat, starting from the opening image, the first one, through the catalyst, including the catalyst now, I have a short summary that goes on the note card just of what happens in the scene. I'm using the feature on the note cards in this software where you can write the main characters or the protagonist's emotional change in the scene, because when you start out a scene feeling one way, you should end a scene feeling a different way. That's how you know that something changed and something happened and the scene has a point. So I have an emotional change, and I also wrote down the conflict for each scene. And then inside, once you click and open up each beat, there's just, at this point, a super messy, rambly kind of synopsis. I can't even call it a synopsis. I haven't been deleting anything yet. So I have certain scenes where I had an idea for what I wanted to have happen or where I wanted it set, and I've since changed my mind. But so far I haven't been deleting any of that because I still want to consider all my options before I really lock myself into anything. And I really think that's been helping. So what I have for each one is like a couple hundred words of, this happens and it happens in this place and here's what she does, or maybe she does this, or maybe this character says that, question mark. It's all very open and very loose, but there is at least one thought out idea for a scene, beginning, middle, and end. And in most cases there are a couple of different ideas for scenes. So I feel, but I think I know what's going on here. And I mean, it all feels a lot more, as lucid crazy as I know that just sounded, it all feels a lot more solid than it did yesterday. So I want to get to that point for the next two. I think there's going to be 2 debate scenes, and then the break into 2, and then I'll have Act 1. What is going on in my head right now is that I'm really enjoying seeing all the details of this, and some parts of what I'm doing are more like, for example, the catalyst scene, which I was struggling with. What I just wrote for it, like what I spent the last 45 minutes on basically, was essentially kind of a zero draft of that scene. It's the most thought out I've had so far, but that new character I came up with last night, that really locked everything into place. And I mean, I have a scene with dialogue, with an exchange, an offer, 2 choices, Nil takes 1. There are repercussions, you know what I mean? Like it really played out. And it's kind of tempting me to, once I get the beats for the 2 debate scenes and break into 2 laid out, I kind of want to start just drafting Act 1 because, you know, you do learn so much about your story. No matter how much you outline, you learn so much when you draft, right? And I kind of want to, I'm a little nervous that, again, looking back on the mistakes I made with Dragon Balloon and how I rushed through it, through this part of the process, the development part, I'm wondering if I stop after I get the beats lined up for Act 1 and I start drafting it, and as things come to me as I'm drafting, if I jump into Act 2 or Act 3 with any new clarifications or new beats that come to mind and kind of outline as I go, maybe this will work. Is this what people mean when they say planting? Like you draft the book, but you're also kind of plotting ahead? And if that's true, can we call it plotzing? Because I just think that's so much more fun. Anyway, I'm kind of thinking about doing that. I'm not sure yet. Will it be a good thing for me to start drafting, or will that just be another case of me rushing it? I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to make up my mind tomorrow. But for right now, I'm just gonna keep working on these debate scenes and getting to that break into 2 and having fun with it. This book is super, super fun. I'm just really loving it. Okay, so it's about 12:30 on Thursday, July 8th, and I have a very complete feeling beat sheet outline of Act 1. And I even kind of wrote out a little sketch of my idea for the very first scene in Act 2. And yeah, a lot of those gears just kept lining up and clicking into place. And looking at this now, I went to Starbucks again this morning and spent about 2 hours on this and really carefully read through each scene. And there's just a few things where I have like 2 ideas for the scene. It's basically like one of the earlier setup scenes, either this happens or this happens. And then I have alternate versions of the scenes that come after depending on which idea I want to use. Ultimately, they both get nilled to the same place in the break into 2. I'm just trying to figure out which one I like more. And I've mentioned in the past that I tend to overcomplicate stories, especially stories with time travel. And I genuinely think that it's going to help me to figure out if I am packing too much into Act 1 if I start writing it. At the very least, zero drafting it, but I'm just kind of curious about Nill's voice, and I want to start working on that. And I think writing a little bit and being in her head is going to help me figure out more about her as a character. So for right now, my plan is over the next couple days to start writing the first scene, that opening scene, and then the first real scene that's in Nill's point of view, and really first drafting it, finding the voice, taking my time with it, not rushing through it. I don't know if I'll continue to do that all through Act 1. If it's working out, I will. If I need to shift more into zero draft mode where it's more like a really long synopsis and I'm not so worried about voice, I'm just getting the details out, that's fine too. But that is my goal for right now. I think the act of actually drafting it and seeing how much information and what's going on in every scene is going to help me figure out which of these paths that I've kind of lined out for myself is better. And if both of them or one of them is less complicated, just basically, am I on the right track? And as I do this, the hope is that I'll have more revelations, I'll learn more about other characters and more about the story, and as I draft, I will jump into the beat sheet in Act 2 and maybe even Act 3 and add some more beats and start developing that as I go. Like I said, is this planting? If you're a planter, is this how it works for you? Maybe that's what I'm attempting to do here, I don't know. But feeling really good about it. Act 1 is done, so that's a great feeling. And yeah, let me know how Camp Nano or just writing in general and life and stuff is going for you in the comments below. And I will see you guys on Tuesday with another vlog.